Hi, all. I hope you're doing well. It's Fionna Gossling, Royal LePage, and I wanted to give you a very quick update or long winded update as to what happened in the Oakville real estate market in December 2025. And I was eagerly awaiting these stats to come out from the Toronto Real Estate Board to really analyze how we ended up in 2025. Because if you listen to the news, you would think the sky was absolutely falling. And I think it's really important that you look at the actual numbers for Oakville because real estate is so hyper local. And what's happening in Oakville is not the same thing that's happening in downtown Toronto or in York or in Scarborough. So to look at the numbers for just Oakville is very important. And then I would take it further, or do take it further, if you're actually looking to sell or buy, then we look into the neighborhoods that you're trying to buy and what's happening in that particular pocket. If you know somebody who's interested in keeping up on this, please forward them this email. They're welcome to subscribe to get an update as to what's going on, and they can get it every month. So 2025, our average annual sale price came in lower than where we were in 2021. And this is different than the way we started the year. It was the first half of 2025. We were just a little bit below 2024 levels. And then in the last quarter of 2025, prices began to drop down compared to what was happening in 2021. So I did go back and have a look at what happened, and we'll go through that in a second. But you can see 2020 was in 2020, it was the best year in history for Oakville real estate. And then it really made a big jump in 2021, 2022. Interest rates were so low. People moving around because of the pandemic created a lot of transaction volume and a real scarcity of properties or to choose from, which put upward pressure on pricing. And then as interest rates rose and affordability declined, buyers started to stay still and wait on the sidelines to see what was going to happen. Now interest rates have come down and I believe have stabilized and are very low again, historically quite low. So there's an opportunity for buyers to get back in at lower prices with quite an attractive interest rate. I digress. This chart, I find it a very, very good visual to see that there's always ups and downs in both the average and the median sale price in Oakville. There's just not enough transactions to make this flat. But in any market, there's going to be ups and downs. And if you step back and look at it from this point of view, you can see that it has been fairly flat when you take out that peak. Now, there has definitely been a downward trajectory for the latter half of 2025, and I think it's only prudent to acknowledge that. If you look at what happened in December 2025, we had 135 sales. It's actually up from last December, which is good, not great. I mean, 135 sales in all of Oakville is not terrific. That's across all property types. We had 680 properties to choose from, which means there's 5 months of inventory, which is very firmly a buyer's market. And the average sale price dropped a little bit in November. It was 1,390, so just shy of that 1,400 mark. And now we're down to 1.344 in December. Now, part of that is going to be the absence of some big sales when you're looking at averages. So if we look at the median sale price, you can see that we're down about $41,000 in the median sale price. And the median sale price is really a better marker. So I don't know why I do the above graph in averages, but I just do. And it's been 11 years of doing it this way. 10 years. So here we go. What I did want to do, though, is look back at what's been happening in 2021, because when you look at that average sale price graph, so I had pulled up from my website the old video I made in December 2020, 2021. And you can see from this, if you compare, this is 2025, the number of transactions are low, like 140, 150, under 200. Let's call it around that 200 mark. May, we saw 300 sales, 350, 360 in June, and then it drops back down. So we saw a blip in October, which is kind of nice. If you look at what was happening in 2021, we were having a terrific amount of sales. So kind of 608 in March, 525. So we were having a lot of sales transactions, and there was really not a lot to choose from, which meant our months of inventory, and months of inventory is the number of, if no new properties come to the market, how long it will take selling at the current sales rate to have no properties left. And now we would sell everything in 5 months or 4.7 months. Back in 2021, we were selling things in less than a month. Like half a month was December 2021. So when that happens, there's scarcity, and that puts upward pressure on prices. And we were in an interest rate cycle where money was so cheap in 2021. So there was, people wanted to move. There was a need to move, or generally speaking, people were moving out of the city and looking for more houses. They were doing remote work. Money was really cheap, and they could buy a house. There was just better value for money in Oakville. So we saw a lot of people coming from other communities to buy here, which put upward pressure on our pricing. If you look at the median sale price, or sorry, the average sale price, it's 2025. Some months were higher, some months were lower, but it was kind of around where we were in 2021. The median sale price, which is a reminder to people who need reminding, is if you take all of the sales and what the price in the middle was. So it's a more accurate indicator as to what's actually selling. So the median sale price was quite a bit lower in 2025. We didn't start out that way in January, but almost immediately, with a few fluctuations, the median sale price in 2021 was higher. And the big thing was days on market. So if you have fewer sales and more to choose from, that's going to have downward pressure on pricing. I believe that people have now been sitting on the sidelines, because we've been seeing numbers like this since 2022, since we corrected. And I believe that there's always that demand for people to buy or sell houses. And people who have been sitting on the sidelines waiting are going to need to get into the market and do something. So that's that. This I talked about a little bit. I mean, our sales were up, but not substantially. But our average sale price year over year in December was down 4%. December is not the best month to analyze things off of. What I did think was interesting was this. Our average sale price of a detached house in December 2025 is still up. Townhouses, the average sale price of a townhouse, or up from 2021. And the average sale price of a townhouse is 1.1 million, and the average sale price of a condo is 5.83 million. Here's what's interesting about this, if you find any of this interesting. We had very few detached sales with quite a lot to choose from. So 4.8 months of inventory. It's a buyer's market. Prices are down a little bit, I think, in the last 4 months, but not by a ton. It's taking longer to sell, but things are still transacting. Townhouses, 3.3 months of inventory. So that's a balanced market, but it's taking about 60 days to sell a townhouse on average. Average townhouse sale price being 1.1 in Oakville. And then condos, we've got 10.1 months of inventory. So we've seen this before in recent history. We only had 19 condo sales with 192 to choose from. So if you're selling a condo, you need to be priced properly. part of what's happening here is all of that new build stuff is coming online. There is a definite over influx of properties to choose from. And I think that new build stuff still has some downward price pressure on it. However, I think some of the luxury condos that we see are still selling very quickly. And there's a demand for larger luxury condos. So your units and it's still going to take longer than it took in 2021 to sell, but those ones are almost need to be analyzed separately from the broader condo market. So I'm working right now on making condo reports for the Granary, for 111 Forsyth, for Ennis Clare, for Blue Water, for all of these buildings that for the shores, for buildings that people tend to want to downsize into, because I think right now there is an opportunity or a buying opportunity to sell a detached home at a reasonable price if your plan is to move into a luxury condo down the road. So if we look at this as a snapshot, last 4 months of detached sales, number of sales were down, number of properties to choose from were down, and average sale price was down. But I think that's kind of to be expected with so few sales, with only 69 sales. However, I would keep in mind that October was 168,000 as well. So 1.768 thousand as well. So this is probably a better indicator of where we ended up. Townhouses, only 47 sales, 155 to choose from. Average sale price has been pretty flat for the last 4 months. I mean, we're up, but same as September, it's flat. And then the condo market, I mean, I think what this tells me is that a lot of these 249 or 192 or 19 sales or 37 sales, we're just not having the sales to choose from, and the things that are selling are at the lower end of the price point. So there's an opportunity for people who are trying to get into the market. I think that there's something to watch, and that could be a separate conversation. But to get into the market, there's lots of condos to choose from, and there has been record low new condo starts in 2025, and 2026 is looking to be just as grim. So there is going to be a condo problem in 2029, but that is to be dealt with in 2029. For now, there's real opportunity for buyers in that condo space. Any specific questions, do not hesitate to reach out. I am happy to discuss this in more detail and also break down how it pertains to you, or do a little bit of a better analysis for how it pertains to you. For now, if you're trying to sell, make sure you're priced properly, make sure you're presented to the market as best you can, and things are still selling, and they're selling for pretty good money. So hope that helps, and I'll check back in next month.